Good evening, everyone. Today's Monday, June 8th, 2026, and the time now is 6 p.m. And I will call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's remote participation and remote meeting policy adopted by the Board of Trustees on March 13th, 2023, by resolution number 21-R-2023, remote participation will be allowed. The meeting link has been provided on the town's website and designated posting place 24 hours prior to this meeting. I'd like to remind everyone present, both in person and virtually, of the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings and public hearings. The guidelines are available online and on the entry table. There are 2 public comment opportunities on the agenda for persons in attendance at Town Hall to address the board. The first is limited to items on the agenda. The second public comment opportunities allows any subject, whether it is on the agenda or not, to be addressed. If you have comments regarding the public hearing tonight, please, the comments will be taken during that item. Melissa, roll call, please.
Mayor Whitlow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Trustee Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Crane. Trustee Hagan.
Here.
Trustee Schran.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow, today is Monday, June 8th, 2026, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Melissa. Please join me in a moment of silence for the 3 children who have tragically lost their lives in the separate drowning incidents in the past week. Thank you very much for your time. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you again for your time. Next is review and approve agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none, may I have a change to the agenda? Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I'd like to remove an item off the consent agenda. Can we do that now?
Sure.
That is it's letter H, resolution number 38, R 2026.
Okay. All right, and with that change, are there any, may I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Melissa.
Trustee Schran.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Hagan.
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries. We have an agenda for this evening. Next is our staff report by our town manager. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees, you have my report. There's a couple things I'd like to add. Just a few dates for you to remember. Juneteenth, the holiday of Juneteenth is the 19th, which is a week from Friday, and it just directly precedes the CML conference. Just so you know, if any of you are going. By the way, the agenda is on the CML website. I just was looking at it today, so you can take a look. If something really interests you and you want to last minute get in, just let me know. And then the other date I wanted to let you know is June 24th is Bike to Work Day, which is the Wednesday of that week. And so it's, for some reason, it's always on a Wednesday. So we hope to see more people biking to work this year since there's more opportunities. On June 29th, we are planning to do, Marcus's office is going to do that work session on e-bikes and scooters that the board asked us to look into. So please let me know if you're not going to be here on the 29th. I mean, if anybody knows, because we do want the whole board to hear that work session, because it is getting more and more important, particularly as you've seen so many scooterized or motorized vehicles riding around town. So, and then our deputy town engineer resigned for personal reasons. So we are advertising for a deputy town engineer. And we also have one maintenance worker position open. We had a resignation there as well. So that's it for the opening. We are moving forward with a police officer who is an internal candidate who works at Public Works. So if that works out, we will have another opening in Public Works and one less opening in the police department. So closing one door opens another. So, and then finally, I asked Todd if he wouldn't mind taking a couple minutes out of my report just to touch on the Prost master plan that we're working on. There's been some different comments that we've been hearing, and he just wanted to kind of do a quick summary. As you know, it's working through the process, and we've had multiple open houses and public input, but Todd just wanted to address it. So thank you, Todd.
Great. So as you know, the town engaged with Logan Simpson back in May of 2025. So we're a little over a year through the process. And it's been developing the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Master Plan. And there's been, just wanted to go over some of the timeframes that will be coming up so that the individuals interested in learning more or participating or being present at the hearings and the meetings are able to. So on June 1st, which was last Monday, we posted the Prost Master Plan final draft on the town website as well as the Mead Motion website. And could you pull that up, Marisol, the Mead Motion one? Thank you. The other tab. Great. So this is the Mead Motion website. It's been up for almost the duration of the master plan process. And so you can see right there at the top, view the final Mead Motion plan. So if anyone wants to see it before it gets in a planning commission packet or a board of trustees packet, they're able to click on that and review the entire draft plan as it will be shown in either of those packets. And then Explore the Story Map is a really helpful summary of kind of the process where we've been and then the specific elements that the main points of the master plan kind of pointed out and very specific. So you'll see plan goals, and wanted to spend some time on this one just in case anyone's concerned about the engagements that occurred during the process. So as you know, since May of 2025, there's been several ways for the community to get involved, stakeholders to know, to comment back on. And so as it's shown right there, there's been 1,131 unique total engagements across all different types of engagement forms, whether they're in person or online. And those have occurred through 2 open houses, 3 pop-up events, interactive maps on the website, online questionnaires, the draft plan review, which occurred, which was open for about 30 days a month ago, and a statistically valid survey. And then Taylor was great. She presented before the Planning Commission twice as the process went through, as well as before the Board of Trustees. So that's available on the Mead Motion website. There's lots of information there. And if you, Marisol, go ahead and go to the town's webpage. Additionally, on the town's landing page for this master plan, there are also links to the draft final master plan as well as the story map that they can click on to get there. And then if there's any specific questions, there's contact info for me and the other planners on the project. So anyone can click on that and reach out to us prior to that. But just wanted to keep everyone informed of where we are in the process and how they can review things. It is going to the Planning Commission on June 17th, so next Wednesday. So that'll be in the packet this Wednesday. And then it's going to come before the Board of Trustees on July 13th. So. Oh, and then this slide. So as background, one of the more consistent groups that have commented on the master plan is primarily related to the future trail layout, which is conceptual in nature. And it's around Mulligan Lake and the Fish and Gun Club that's out there. And it's a private lake. And so what I wanted to show is kind of the evolution that occurred through the the plan through all these different touch points with the public. And so on the top left, that's what originally was kind of shown or came up with. So you'll see that there's a north-south trail around Mulligan, north-south trail in that section of land, and then kind of a connector that goes west towards Mead Place or Mead Crossing. And we showed that it was following kind of the edge of the shoreline on the south side, and then it followed a ditch as it went north. And that's pretty typical to follow ditches. Those are kind of open space corridors. Naturally, they can't be developed. So you'll see trails a lot along those. There was concern about it being too close to the lake and its activities. So you'll see the bottom left image is how our consultant as well as staff responded by graphically showing it much further away. So there wasn't any confusion on we're going on the shoreline or there's access to the lake, but it's actually pulled further away. And you'll see that there's still a connection going north. We got feedback again in talking about there's an airstrip or something out there and we had to avoid it. So our consultant actually talked to the property owner and they were concerned that was even shown anywhere on the property. So we deleted that part knowing that, you know, if development occurs, then a trail will go through. If development doesn't, then it just won't until such time. And so the final version that you'll see online in the story map, as well as in the final master plan, is the one at the bottom where the trail is significantly south of the lake, as well as just a connection going south. One other point I want to make about this is that this is not a capital improvement map. So some trails will be capital improvements to connect subdivisions to each other. Other trails will come along with development. In this case, this trail wouldn't be built by the town, in my opinion, until such time as that land is purchased and developed and subdivided, and then the trail would be incorporated into that development and constructed by the developer. So although it's shown graphically like this, it's just a concept and ultimately will be determined at the time of preliminary plat and final plats. So just want to point that out.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks.
Thanks, Helen.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not before you sit down. Thanks for that. I'm trying to understand what you just said.
Okay.
About waiting for development, so on and so forth. Am I to understand that we're not going to entertain doing any of this until development comes in?
It's not suggested in our plan at all, and that would be my recommendation.
No, we do not.
Do not do anything. It wouldn't connect to anyone or any other trail. Yeah.
So in the foreseeable future, that trail won't be there.
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay. And when it does, I see where you have quote unquote significantly moved it from the shorelines. What is that significant? 1 feet, 6 feet, 12 feet, 100 feet?
It's going to depend on the site conditions when they come through the process. So if there's, certain soils or high water table or maybe some drainage areas that could be protected, we're going to try and co-locate and have that go along with the open space corridor. So it'll be determined at the time of final plat, but it's definitely not going to be in a proximity that folks would be confused that they can go to the lake and on the shoreline. We'll make sure that it's either far enough back or when it's closest, there will be a fence or something there with some signage.
I had attended one of those meetings and had the opportunity to discuss this with the owners around there, especially those with the gun club.
Mm-hmm.
And I did concur with them that guns and people don't go very well together. And then you can add an airstrip because I'm a pilot too. So guns, people and pilots or aircraft don't go together. I guess I'm encouraged that there's not going to be anything there until development, because I would be very concerned if we're going to do anything in there prior to development.
Mm-hmm.
And I share that concern with that group of people because I too am one of them. So I think that this should help satisfy some of the concerns that they have. And I just hope it keeps trucking in that direction. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Helen on her report tonight? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Todd. All right, we'll move on to our informational items tonight. The first one is Mead Motorhead. And the car show was a hit. And I'll ask the representatives from the Mead Motorheads to come up and introduce themselves to us and have the podium for a while. So thank you very much for being here.
Hello and good evening, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed board members. I appreciate your support, and it is truly my honor, my privilege to be standing here in front of you to talk about that car show. It's my honor to serve in that car show. It's something I fell in love with the first minute I ever attended, and so this is now my 5th year and the first official year that I've really taken the lead in it. So I'd like to talk with you about how we've taken the grant money that you have so generously given us with the highest dollar amount this year. We so appreciate it. How we've taken that money with other sponsorship monies, and we've really reinvented the show for us. Originally, when the show started, I think it was in 2004, it was a private business that came in and ran it. They didn't do a very good job. So that I call that version 1.0. Then 2.0 was a group of men that came in led by Jim Coleman, and they led the show for the next 19 years, I believe. Did a fine job of doing that. And so unfortunately, Jim succumbed to some illness, and I helped step in and take over the show. And I decided that we really needed infrastructure improvement, and we needed to really position ourselves for the future. We needed to get online. We needed to make some usage of social media and a website. And we also needed to quit depending on folks to bring their own canopies, their own tables, their own chairs. And some of these people, quite frankly, folks, they were very up in years. They were getting sick, and it was tough to rely on them. And so I felt like we really needed our own infrastructure, something that we can bring to the show year after year. And I'm proud to report that we've got brilliant success in that regard. So if you would go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the agenda tonight is I'm going to outline for you the new show infrastructure. I'm going to present to you the 2026 show results. I'm also going to introduce to you our new charity, which I'm very proud to talk about. I'm also going to detail a very poignant, very necessary enhanced noontime Memorial Day ceremony. Also, I wanted to showcase for you car and sponsor awards, and then follow up with a summary of the entire event. All right. So, new infrastructure. So we are welcoming a whole new revamp. First off, we went in and purchased 3 commercial canopies and 10 foldable tables for the front and back for positioning and staging things that we needed for the show. Also, we purchased 12 collapsible chairs. And we established some stations that were needed for registration, for goodie bags, for the retail area for selling T-shirts, which now I'm very happy and pleased to report that we're granting digital payment options now with a credit card reader. As before, we were sending people down to TPK Bank at the end of the street with an ATM card and say, bring us some cash back. And that wasn't very good for sales, let me tell you. And also it had a necessary area. It was set aside for breakfast food, which was donated to us by Rita Ritos. Absolutely amazing donation. We've improved the parking drastically. We had a lineup going down Main Street all the way out onto Welker, sometimes coming around on the county road, and there was a lot of complaints about that. So what we did was, first off, to avoid confusion, we invested in 7 large signs to direct traffic, and you can see a picture of one of them there. We also staged cars over at Mead Elementary. They were very happy to accommodate what we needed. We established lane perimeters using some delineator posts with numbers. And it's kind of like similar to, have you ever ridden a ferry, how they stage you on different lines and each one goes out first in, first out. And then we had, of course, 3 rolls of caution tape to set those lanes, to delineate those for the cars. We had those 4 set up. And then we had a timed release in small batches. We had some folks with walkie-talkies that would tell us, okay, it's time to send 10 more cars in. And it worked really, really well. And then the guys that we had parking the cars around the park are very good at parking cars. They're from the Coloradans Car Club in Longmont. I don't know if any of you have ever been out to one of their events, but they have a large event with the Mountain States Children's Home. And so many cars attend this thing. So these guys really know what they're doing. Please report they're partnering with us to park these cars. Okay. So we really had to expand our volunteers. And it's the silliest thing to say, teamwork makes the dream work, but it really did. I can tell you that we were 4 members formerly. 3 of us were very old and getting sick and weren't able to do things. So went out and managed to recruit some fabulous people, and we've increased our team count now to 14 folks. Pleased to report that Sergeant Dave Sieper from the Boulder Police, who's a retired police sergeant, actually took over our show operations. So he administered over parking. He also took charge of the show awards, and also the judging of cars, which this year was a first for us. Before, we always had popular vote, but we actually had judges come out and judge the cars this year. Then we added my son, who's a systems engineer. He loves this show, and he stepped up and he said, "Yeah, Dad, I'd like to do something for you." So he created for us a website and an online purchase program where you could register online instead of having to just write out a check and fill out a form and mail it in. So it was much more efficient. And he also was really good on Facebook and just did fabulous posts for you all, created a Facebook page, which I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And I'd like to report too that finally we have broken the glass ceiling. Instead of all men, we've actually added a couple of women that were quite necessary because they were already stepping in and doing stuff for us anyway. My wife, Tamara, she is a former corporate event and wedding planner and really knows her stuff. And Evie Nichols, Evie was one of those kind of people, she just came in and said, "Hey, I'm here to help. What can I do?" And so I knew that she had to join the team, definitely. So she happens to have great experience as a corporate conference manager, so super experience. Then I increased our parking volunteers with Jeff, Charlie, and Ken. And then Charlie's son, Chris, stepped up on the day of show because he loves his show so much and said, "Hey, I'd like to also be a volunteer." And then my daughter and her roommate assisted with the show setup and just general support. And then on the day of show, we had 2 more people come up and volunteer to be a part of the 2027 show. Fantastic news. Next slide. So parking in the town square. It was formerly, we did this, it was just 3 or 4 of us that did this. We kind of shuffled the cars around, we got them in place, and that was good for years. But I really saw that we needed a partner with this. And so I went over to the Coloradans. I used to be a member of that car club. And in 2023, I said, "Hey, if you come out and park cars for me, we'll give you VIP parking." Of course, they jumped on that because they can all park together, and they have really cool cars, I might add, too. So no shame there. And to make sure that the space was properly allocated, we used a very sophisticated device called a pool noodle. And if you're familiar with pool noodles, you get out there and you just hold it like this and say, "Okay, this is how far apart you park." And it works really well. And so we received huge rave reviews, positive reviews from the show participants. And the Coloradans, I'm proud to report, actually received the first year we've ever done a club participation awards. They had 17 cars there at the show. And that's a picture of some of their cars there. Then we did a really great thing. I was concerned, because the show sold out really quickly. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But there's a lot of folks that come out on the day of. They don't know if the weather is going to be good, or they don't know if they're going to come or whatever, and they aren't registered. And I just hated to turn those people away because, hey, they're not only wanting to bring their car out, they want to spend money in your town. And I'm interested in them spending money in your town. So we made an arrangement. We made several announcements out there on social media. And if folks who couldn't register, please come on out. You can still park on Main. And they did. They filled it up from Fairburn down to Welker. And we really got them feeling good about being there. And also it offers an opportunity for you to increase your presence to these folks and to build town awareness and hopefully to drive some trial of your new businesses that you all have done a great job building in 2025. It's all down. You got new offerings to us that weren't there before. That means a better show. Okay. So in keeping it safe, these guys are coming out from the National Street Rod Association. And what they do is they're very dedicated to doing free inspection reports for cars to make sure they're safe. Now, the cool thing about having the NSRA come out is they are a very, very legitimate National Street Rod Association organization. So it actually boosts the authenticity of your show up. And that's what we want. More authentic means more people are going to want to be there. And this offers convenience in that they are there at the show and they're walking around. They offer, "Hey, would you like an inspection?" So I think it's something that was well received. And when I was talking with them, they had great feedback and said, "Yes, we're going to come back next year." So that's a good thing. And we had a really cool shirt design. Okay. I don't know how many of you are familiar with 1965 GTOs or GTOs in general, but there was a classic song that came out back in the 60s called Little GTO by Ronnie and the Daytonas about, three deuces and a 4-speed and a 389 car. It was kind of set the whole revolution muscle car phenomenon on fire. And so I got the idea. There was a show participant who's won an award a couple of times at the show, and he also volunteered. That was Sergeant Dave Sieper. That's his car. And so we got that design built, and then I was really proud to do this. Before with logos, we weren't really doing logos with sponsors. We were kind of just putting text up there. So instead, we did logos on the back of that shirt. It was a tough process, but we got it done, and I think it looks fantastic. And so, of course, we put you all right there at the top where you need to be. And I can tell you this is like our T-shirt sales really did well because the first time, like I said, we had that credit card reader. We sold almost $480 using the card, another $360 on cash, $839 in total. I think in 2025 we might have sold 5 shirts, with cash. So this is a massive improvement. Okay. New partners. Wow. Did the businesses step up in this town? So we had Lighthouse Storage and Ultimate Garage Club. Now, like I was telling you, I wanted to get some canopies. I wanted to get some chairs. I wanted to get some tables, all that for us, but like where to keep it. I really didn't want to depend on somebody to open up their garage space and put this stuff in their garage. Not my garage. So my garage is stuffed already. So I was very fortunate. Went over and talked to Tom Ames over at Lighthouse Storage. He was more than happy to accommodate us. He said, yeah, I got this. I got plenty of space. I said, well, great. I'd like just maybe a small one, 5 by 10. And he said, oh, no, I can do better than that. And I said, no, just keep it small. It's all we need, And so $105 monthly rental, he comped that. That's a $1,260 in-kind donation. Absolutely fabulous man. In turn, we gave him access to the show. He had a booth set up, and I'm happy to report he made some good contacts there for his garage condos and for his storage units. Next. Wow. Did the food and beverage people step up? Now, let me tell you, breakfast has always been a challenge for us. It's something we wanted to offer. And we did a thing with Josie's where we negotiated a deal. We bought mini tacos for her at a low cost, and then we donated them to the show participants. And then we had, Josie's left town, and we had Maggie's. I went over to Maggie's for breakfast one morning, and they had this wonderful burrito. And I talked to the guy. I said, would you like to donate burritos? He said, sure. But then they went out of business. Lorelei tells me, well, there happens to be a guy named Henry over at Rita Ritos. He makes great burritos. So I went to talk with him. The guy just said, yeah, how many do you need? 140 of them. We're going to need that for not only the cars, we're going to need that for the staff. And he just stepped up and just gave that to us. Whew, I'm getting emotional, but just talking about it, but it was so generous. Then Christine Smith over at Metalworks Barbecue, her and Don Smith, they gave us sandwiches and chips and drink and a cookie for free. So they not only got fed for breakfast, they got lunch. So we fed them, we clothed them, and we gave them a place to park. It was absolutely fabulous. I've never seen anybody so generous in my life. And then Highland Lake Brewing stepped up too. They said, hey, we can give you 50% off a craft beer, and we'll also throw some happy hour pricing on our light beers. And so we made those little coupons at the top for folks to give to make sure that they were really for sure show participants, and they did earn these discounts. So, and it went off without a hitch, and they were all so happy to give us that. Okay. So, like I said, with the digital presence, first thing we had to do was go in and create a distribution list. After 20 years, there was no distribution list created for our email address. Poor Jim was manually typing these names in every year. He didn't know how to run a computer very well. So, fortunately, I have a lot of training in that. So, Tamara and I went through 4 years of registrations, and we built a distribution list with over 330 names so we get a targeted email campaign and send these folks show updates. Then my son set up the meadmotorheads.com, and what results we got. 100 sold out in 1 week. That was absolutely amazing. Usually by the time we have the show, we might have maybe 75 registered, This was a phenomenal success. Then you all were so generous to give us another 25 spots, and that sold out in 6 hours. And I didn't even put that on social media. I just sent that to our email distribution list, and pow, 6 hours later, they sold out. Okay, next. So with having a digital presence, we can collect data. Okay, I am by trade. I'm a sales and marketing analyst. I've been working in the food business for over 30 years. So this kind of stuff comes natural to me. And I was curious, we had never done this sort of analysis before, but it does give you great data. And so, and also one thing that it relieves us of is we were having to forecast how many T-shirts are going to be there for day of show. A lot of times we would end up with piles of shirts left over that we were just giving away. These shirts cost about $13 a piece to make. So that was hitting our bottom line. And what I'm trying to get at here today is to increase efficiency so we're making more money for veterans to give them a better donation. So, interesting that 2 out of 3 attendees repeat. That's great. You got high repeat rate. 33% are new to the show. That's excellent. You're bringing in new buyers. The brand is super healthy with that high repeat rate and new customers. That's great. Looking at the top 10 towns that come to your show, those 4 of those are 66% or 60% of participants. Of course, Longmont, as expected, dominates. But Mead, I'm proud to say, tied for number 2 with Fort Collins for number of cars in the show. And then the longest distance award, well, if we had one, we go to a guy from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Although I will tell you this, I think if I were going to get a long distance award, I would have given it to a man named Orville, who's 92 years old and came to the show. Fabulous. Next slide. So promoting Mead business partners, that is our priority of our show. The website, we had displayed sponsor and vendor logos to create that visual impression for potential customers, and they all had clickable links that redirect them to websites and their Facebook pages. That's my son in action for you. Next. So vendor and show results. The 2026 show, we set a record for vendor participation. Went from 4 booths to 11. That's up 175%. Feedback from our vendors were very responsible, very positive. Metalworks said we sold more in 4 hours than in a 10-hour day. Highland Lake blew away our expectations. We saw a net increase in new customers too. Ultimate Garage Club and Lighthouse Storage, we got new leads on garage condos, storage opportunities. I'm in for next year, he said. Paradise Creamy from Loveland. Wow, great response. Another very successful show. And what's interesting, you had a new business open up, I think the day before the show, Sweet Flower Ice Cream, and who told me that despite the competition, they were a little bit worried about how much Paradise is going to take sales away from them. They still had a line out the door for ice cream. And then we had a new vendor come in, Liz Hogan from Longmont. She has an Allstate business, and she said they had a great time. She had this beautiful trailer there, and they were doing games and swag and all that, and they generated a bunch of new business too. So fabulous success. Next. Our Facebook page. So yeah, we really wanted to improve that. We had a couple of old pages out there, 2 of them, okay, which is really tough. If you go out on Facebook and you search up Mead Motorheads, it's going to pull up these 2 pages and you don't know which one to go to. So I managed to get control of those 2 pages, and my son merged them together and then created a new page. And he made sure that he preserved all of the pictures that were on those pages before to make sure that he can go back in time. People can still look at them. So, and that was, when you get in that page, that's what you'll see, the front end of that 65 GTO right there. Next. So preserving the memories, we have over 300 photos that my son walked around. He had the best job. He just walked around and just gabbed with people and just took pictures. And he took over 300 of them and put them out there on the show. And I love that one in the upper right. If you want to get hurt, ask me if this car belongs to my husband, which I thought was hilarious. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it was just phenomenal. And, at the registration desk, we were just having the best time. It was so easy. All right, go ahead. Next slide. So with the experience with that, I mean, the first things that these folks are going to encounter is, parking and then registration. Those were great. But then all the crowds that came in too. And really, it didn't disappoint. I think we got more visibility and more participation that year than ever. Of course, the weather really helped out as well. So now get into this, keeping it real. It's really all about our vets. Before we were doing just a moment of silence, but given that we've had a lot of escalation and events out there in the Middle East, I felt very strongly that we needed to have a better service, an enhanced service. So what we had in the beginning was when noon hit, I went to Lakewood and bought a bell, and I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, and this thing is about like so big. And Danny DiGiacomo, who's a citizen here, he's also U.S. Navy vet, hit the bell 8 times to chime, the noon hour. And then I got up there and I gave a little brief talk about what Memorial Day is really all about. And then we recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Next. The following, that's when it really got good. A reading of the recent fallen was conducted by Post 109 Honor Guard member and show participant Robert Trainer. Earlier that day, he had texted me, I'm not going to be able to come to the show. I'm giving a ceremony at a cemetery in Windsor. And I said, wow, would you mind reading these names? Because I don't think I'm really worthy to do that. He said, yeah, I'd love to. And he did. And those are the 13 names. And as each name was read, clong, the bell was chimed. Then we had a moment of silence following that. And we had I decided I really didn't want to just do a recorded national anthem with Whitney Houston singing it. I really wanted to hear, it's about community. So let's get a couple of the high school members come out from the choir, and a teacher out there accommodated and sent Avery and Cammie, and they came out, and Avery sang America the Beautiful, and then they both did a duet and they sang the national anthem, and it was absolutely beautiful. I don't think there was a dry eye in the place. It's really, really, really stunning. So then we have our new charity, Warrior Story Field Night. Now we could do a presentation just on this, but this is a project that's been going on for about 15 years, and it involves trying to help veterans recover when they come back from war. And this artist, with a friend who was struggling with recovery, they decided, you know what, we're going to build these huge metal sculptures. And one is a phoenix and the other is a dragon. The dragon symbolizes the warrior spirit. The phoenix symbolizes recovery when they come home. And the plan is they're going to put them out in a field, and somebody donated 35 acres in Boulder County for this with a 5,000 square foot house on it. Absolutely amazing, the generosity. So there's a piece of artwork there that Bob did, and my wife happened to talk with him, and he was giving away some of these metal art pieces, and he said, "So what's your favorite?" And she says to him, "Well, what is your favorite?" And he said, "Well, this one here. I made this," he said, "and it saved my life." And so he gave that to us, and it's on the mantle of our house, on the mantle of our fireplace. So yeah, really, really beautiful thing. Some people, have you ever met, the first second you get to know them, it's like, wow, you're something special. And this guy is that. He's really special. Okay, next slide. So the award ceremony, before we were doing one-off handcrafted metal sculptures. These metal sculptures, we were paying about $65, $70 a piece for these. And then we were having votes that were counted for cars, and a lot of guys would come there and they would vote for their buddy's junky car that really didn't win any awards, and there were guys that were walking away with some very nice trophies that had pretty junky cars, So that's why we decided to do judging, but also to reduce the costs. Again, to try to maximize our donations. Dave Sieper, who had connections, came up with this idea about metals. And so we have a gold, a bronze, silver for first, second, third. And then for our sponsors, we had slate tiles made up. And I don't think we've ever given awards to our sponsors before, but it was very nice to hand that out. And then the Best of Show trophy was a bit of a throwback to our old days where we used to do metal sculptures. And I happened to get that one for free. And so it was a really good deal, and it's a cool looking trophy. So that's where that came from. So Best of Show winner, Jim Coleman presented the Best of Show. I really wanted Jim to still be involved. He needs to be involved. So Jim presented, and the winner was Gary Grace. He's from Severance, Colorado. He has a knock-dead, just gorgeous 57 Chevy Bel Air. So a really, really nice car, and he totally, totally deserved award. Okay, next. So, in summary, what I call the 4 C's of a successful car show. I think if a car show can come together and bring together community, culture, charity, and commerce, that's a good show. That show is going to work, and this show works. So, All around feedback, very positive. Received several new contacts for our email list. Added 2 new volunteers to our roster. Warrior Storyfield and enhanced noon Memorial Day presentation was very well received. The businesses reported favorable results and are excited for our next year's show. Brand health is excellent with solid repeat customers and new customers, with repeat customers and new customers coming in. And then basically it all comes down to the last line. We are prepared for 2027. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your continued support, and I have something for you. I made it. Just the town of Mead, here's our show design for that year. You are a gold star sponsor. We had gold, silver, bronze levels. You gave us $800, which was phenomenal. So thank you so much for that. So we'd like to award you with this. And there's a stamp for it. If you would like to hang it on the wall, we'll do that too. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thanks, folks. You can contact me directly at meadmotorheads@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Craig, I wanted to say thank you very much from the Board of Trustees. I remember when everything happened in this room. Everything happened in this room with tons of envelopes and a lot of scurry and making burritos with the Rotary and hamburgers with the chamber. And, you know, it takes a lot of volunteers to make an event successful. And I'm so happy that Saturday or the Monday's event was amazing from everything that you guys have worked for. And it was just a delight to go through. I see the cars and the owners and the community come together once again. We couldn't do it last year, but this year just took it out of the park. So Craig, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Craig tonight and his wife?
Second.
Yeah. So thank you very much for the presentation. I look forward to next year's event. And if you need anything from us, let us know. So thank you both for being here. And if you want to model the t-shirt, she is wearing it tonight. So there you are. There you are. It has one of the best logos on the back. So, all right. Thank you so much, you two, for being here and getting through the presentation. I know it's hard. And tell Jim and the gang that we all say hi and said thank you very much for all the work. And you know, as a vet, I appreciate you too. So thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the St. Vrain Valley School District IGA. This will be presented by our Community Development Director, Todd Burkus. Sir, you have the podium.
Our 2026, which is included on your consent agenda, but this is a rare item for a board of trustees to see. It only occurs every 8 to 10 years or so. So I just wanted to give kind of a general overview of what the IGA is, our partnership with the St. Vrain Valley School District, and some other items on how those funds are expended. So this resolution and this agreement is for the fair contribution of public school sites. It was originally adopted in May of '96, the version that we have now, and then it's been updated approximately every 8 to 10 years after that. So again, in September of 2002, and then again in August of 2013, leading us to today. So as you're aware, whenever a new home is constructed within anywhere in the school district, but specifically for us in the town of Mead, there's additional level of service that occurs with that new resident, that new family, or whomever it is. That can be new level of service or increased level of service on parks, on transportation, on utilities, infrastructure, but it also has an impact on the schools as well as each new student is added. And so what this agreement does is it breaks down the housing types, whether they're single family, whether they're duplexes or triplexes, townhomes, condos, multifamily, mobile homes, and says, hey, this is the typical yield that each of these homes generates on the school system at an elementary school level, a middle school level, and a high school level. And that's, if you want to ever meet anyone who loves statistics, it's the folks at St. Vrain Valley School District. It's just tremendous. And so those are spot on to a T, and it's done by community as well. There's different yields between different communities, and there's also different growth rates between different communities. And so that's generated. And then as a result of that, potentially a new school needs to be built. But the first part of that is acquiring the land. So this IGA essentially says, hey, when development occurs, a subdivision comes in, we look at our comprehensive plan map, and that not only shows our density and our uses that we see in the future, but also has little icons in partnership with the district during these master plans of where they potentially may need new schools, whether it's elementary, middle, we see it with the PK through 8. And then somewhere along the process of it's going to be filled, or it's the neighborhood's going to be around it, or it's going to serve a wider area until those developments come along. But that land is very important for the school district to get. And so sometimes that development has that little icon on their property, and then we work with the developer in conjunction with the district through our referral process, as well as meetings, to have a discussion about what that school property or school site may look like. Where is it? Adjacent to what infrastructure? Roadway network? How many acres do they need? Is it an elementary school of 10 acres, a middle school of 25, a high school of 50? And then collaborate with the developer in the school district to figure out, okay, how can this be incorporated into the development? In other cases where there isn't that little symbol on the map for development, then there's still an impact with those new students coming into the system. So instead of contributing land there, they do a cash fee in lieu that is based off of the fair market value of what the district needs to go out to acquire that land. And so what this IGA does is it continues what we originally did in 96 and is updated a third time to reflect the student yields that come in the town of Mead, as well as the increased costs of land and the fair market value, what they need to go out and purchase it for, or refund a developer who does contribute more land than they're supposed to. So the primary use of the funds is the sole purpose is planning, acquiring, or developing public school sites or related capital improvements. So the agreement that's in your on the consent agenda tonight does a couple new things that weren't in it previously, or just changes a couple different things. One is the school district previously was required to expend their funds within 10 years of their contribution. That's extended to 20 years, and that's primarily a result of just the rhythm of bond issuance and school construction, and just because we've gotten a lot of schools in the town of Mead, right? We have 4 schools. So that is a 20-year timeframe that they can use those funds. It also expanded the use of what those funds can be used for, in addition to what I just said. And that is primarily the addition of being able to use that money towards pedestrian crossings that assist or help with students traveling to the specific schools. In addition, it revises the amount for cash in lieu, reflective of the fair market value. And then again, touches on the housing types and the student yield with all those. So the last item is a part of the IGA, which has been in there previously, is the school district provides us with an annual report in March of every year. And it says how many units were built in the town, what was the contributions through the cash fee in lieu, and then what's the total over an annual time frame of what that fund looks like. It also shows what they've expended the funds on. So it's very clear on what they're collecting on new home building in the town, as well as what they're expending those funds on. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Brendan Willits, the planning director with St. Verian Valley School Districts, here as well. But otherwise, we would recommend that you all approve it on consent.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Questions for Todd tonight? Oh, Trustee Hagan.
At what point during the development process is that fee collected? Is that permits or is that at plat, or is it for the whole development all at once? Or is it just as they pull permits for individual lots?
Sure. It's whenever they're pulling a permit for an individual lot, that home builder has to provide the town the receipt from the school district. So they'll go down to the school district, they'll pay that fee, they'll have a receipt, or if there's some other arrangement,
So it's not collected through the town.
it's not collected through the town.
Yeah.
Nope. And then we check to make sure, just like our other utilities, St. Vrain and Little Thompson, that it's collected. And one item I missed talking about was the relationship in the referral process. St. Vrain Valley School District is part of the referral process from annexation through zoning, preliminary plat, final plat, and obviously the building permit side. So they're fully aware of, was there a change of use? Is this additional density? Is it less density? And then they can adjust their numbers and they're very responsive to that. So I just wanted to tell you that's kind of how they're involved throughout the development process.
Is it the same fee district wide for each municipality or each location for the whole school district?
It previously was. They're going through IGA agreements with other municipalities right now to bring them all up to a similar level. Yeah. We're consistent with Longmont and Erie.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time. All right. We'll move on to our proclamation. June 14th, 2026 is Flag Day, and National Flag Week is June 14th, 14th through the 20th of 2026. I have asked Trustee Cartwright to please read the proclamation.
Proclamation, Flag Day, June 14th, 2026. National Flag Week, June 14th through 20th, 2026. Whereas in 1916, President Woodrow Wilson established June 14th of each year as Flag Day, and whereas Flag Day marks the Second Continental Congress's adoption of the first U.S. national flag on June 14th, 1777, and whereas the first U.S. flag featured the same 13 red and white stripes as seen in the flag today, while the number and arrangement of stars has changed as the number of states has increased, and whereas Americans have commemorated the adoption of the Stars and Stripes in many ways, displaying the flag proudly in front of homes, at parades, and other patriotic observances, and whereas the U.S. flag serves as the guiding symbol of our nation's journey, now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, the mayor of the town of Mead, Weld County, Colorado, does hereby proclaim June 14th, 2026 as Flag Day, and the week of June 14th through June 20th, 2026 as National Flag Week. She calls upon all citizens of the town of Mead to observe Flag Day and National Flag Week by displaying the flag of the United States of America. Given under her hand and seal, the town of Mead, Colorado, this 8th day of June, 2026.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I make a motion to approve the proclamation for Flag Day.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries. Do we have any representatives from DAR tonight? DAR tonight? Okay. We'll get pictures with them at a later date. Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll move on to our first public comment. The board welcomes public comment at this time for any item on the agenda. We will also take comments on items not on the agenda during the second public comment, number 11. Please remember the public comment is not intended to be a question and answer session. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. All comments should be directed to the Board of Trustees and not to specific individuals. If you wish to speak during this first public comment period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Please start by stating your full name and address for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Board of Trustees. If you are representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. We ask that all speakers and audience members treat one another with respect and dignity. Let's ensure we maintain a welcoming environment and avoid any actions that could be distracting. Melissa, do we have anyone signed up for this public comment period?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Jason Dawkin.
Okay. Jason, would you like to state what agenda item you would like to speak on and then record your name and address for the record?
Hi, my name is Jason Dawkin. My wife, Christy Hepp. Christy's probably one of the few people in the room who actually grew up in Mead and went K through 8 here.
Could you tell me what the item of
The
the,
item is regarding our sewer bill.
I think it's on the agenda.
is it on the agenda?
I asked it to be on the agenda.
It's not on tonight's agenda, but you can go ahead and speak. Usually we have a period of time that things are not on the agenda at the next public comment period.
Okay, I
But go ahead.
requested it to be on the agenda, but
That's okay. You have 3 minutes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
so we bought a house here in 2020, and the house is a complex house, and it has a large water feature. It's 40,000 gallon water feature. And as most people on the board probably know, you do a metering period from December to February every year, which works well for most people, but this 40,000 gallon pond loses water. And during the winter months, we keep it running, and the only way to keep it running is to keep it filled. So there's no way to stay within the guidelines of your metering period. So we're always going over, and our bill has gone from a $40 bill to a $220 some bill.
But
And
that
so-
water's not going into the sewer, so.
the process you're using to meter is to basically gauge how much water is going into the sewer, but probably a small percentage of what we're using is actually going into the sewer. So we're asking for an exception to your metering process. This coming winter, we're actually not going to have the pond filled, we actually have emptied it now because of the water shortage that we have. So we would be able to get a proper metering this next measuring period, but we're asking for an exception so that you can actually maybe get us back to a normal bill for this year.
Thank you for your comment. We will look into it and appreciate your time tonight. And
Okay.
that's,
One last thing, I'll say I've spent probably 3 months trying to reach you on this topic, so it'd be nice to get an early resolution to this. Thank you.
thank you, sir, very much, sir, for your time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, Melissa, is there anyone that would like to speak during this public item that has signed in?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak on an agenda item during this public comment period? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda minus 9H. And the consent agenda contains items which are considered routine and are approved with one motion and a vote. I want to recognize the staff for putting together these items and the board for reviewing them ahead of tonight's meeting. Now, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is, or with the
Amended.
addition.
As amended?
It's amended.
Thank you. There's a second. Thank you. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz,
Yes.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. All right, motion carries for the consent. We will go on to resolution number 38-R-2026. I'll read for the record. It's a resolution of the Town of Mead, Colorado, accepting a grant from the Colorado Department of Local Affairs for the creation of the Economic Development Strategic Plan. We've been discussing this for about 2 months, and so I will turn over the microphone to Trustee Schranz for questions or comments about this resolution. Sir?
Thank you. As I read through this, I'm becoming very, very confused about what it is that we think we're going to do here. I'm reading that we're going to update a 2015 plan. I'm not aware of a 2015 economic development plan that we're going to update, that the intent for this is to get market strategies and unmet demands, economic challenges and opportunities. And as I read through here, it says we could spend up to $100,000. I have a real problem with spending $100,000 on this. I have talked to other consultants. This piece of work, if you really need to do it, which I question, but if you really need to do it, this piece of work can be done for under $50,000. I'm not sure where the $100,000 mark came from. I'm not prepared to approve $100,000 for this at all. Like I say, there's much better opportunities to get information. I'm not sure I know what the town of Mead is going to do with market demand. I don't need to know market demand. The retailer needs to know market demand. What am I going to do with this piece of information? And by the way, it's very readily available many, many places. So we don't have to spend this money. I'm not supporting this at all.
Is there a match on the grant? Is there a minimum match on the grant?
I will turn the microphone over to Helen to answer the questions. We've been discussing this for quite some time.
Yeah, so what's before you tonight is accepting the grant of up to $25,000. It's a 25% matching grant. So our maximum, if we go out and get a consultant that we would spend on aggregate, would be $100,000. That doesn't mean we will we're still working on the RFP to send it out, but it's not guaranteed we'd spend that, and the board would look at all the proposal, or we would actually review the proposals and bring it back. It's really reflective of what we've been talking about at all our various planning sessions with Chris LeMay. So he generously offered to see if they could get a grant to help us develop this strategic plan. But what we were doing was following what we thought was the board's direction to develop those 3 strategic plans, one being Prost, one being the housing plan that we have to have in place by December of 27. And then this economic development plan was at the behest of the board. So this is just to assist us in developing it.
What is this reference to the 2015 Mead Economic Development Plan?
So in 2015, 2016, this was actually before my time as town manager. The previous town manager embarked on an economic development strategy plan. First, they did Retail 101 and came in, both presentations actually were to Mura, and it was developing it's about a, 15-page document that looked at all these various retail strategies, what the town may or may not want to do. And then she did a deep dive into actually the 66 and I-25 properties, right, proximate to I-25. So this economic strategic plan would basically refresh all that, 10 years later, see what are our assets, what are our, what about us could we attract, should we attract, what strategies might the town want to pursue as far as incentivization, just that's basically what an economic strategic plan is.
Okay. Well, I would be okay with accepting the $25,000 grant. But I clearly would want to review any awards that may be assigned. So if you're going to put an RFP out, and God bless you, I have no idea how you're going to put an RFP out on this. What are you going to ask for? But that's okay. You figure it out. But as long as it comes to the board before we approve it, because I clearly do not see $100,000. I don't even think you need to approve $100,000, but you can put it out there if you want. But
just to be clear, this isn't approving $100,000.
No, I understand.
This is
But the way it's been
accepting an award.
presented here, it sounds like we're going to have $100,000 bill. That's what it sounds like. May not be what your intent was, but that's
Yeah.
what it sounds like. And like I said, I'm okay with accepting the grant from DOLA. But I reserve the right, I guess, to review any acceptance of any of the proposals that come through before, because if there is a vendor out there that's going to charge us $100,000, I would be opposed to that.
Yeah, and any proposal would come back to the board for approval.
Okay.
We wouldn't approve it at the staff level. So that was the idea. But I would like to hear the rest of the board. If there isn't a desire to pursue this economic development strategic plan, we should just not accept the grant. I mean, because it is a fair amount of work. We shine people on by going out and putting out an RFP on BidNet, and they assume that the board wants to do it. So if there's a reluctance based on the cost or based on what you think you're going to get out of it, I would suggest you reject the grant. I mean, because it's not worth, if there's some concern that you don't need this plan, then I don't see any reason to really pursue it and pursue the grant.
Well, I thought that everybody agreed to go forward with this, so I don't understand what the reluctance is. I understand about the paragraph about the $100,000, but we all agreed to go forward with this based on, one of the very top goal of this board was strategic planning. So I want to hear more from everybody else, because that was the number one goal for this board this year was do planning. So I want to hear from you. All of you.
Did you shut off your mic? Is
Go
it-
ahead.
No, someone else must have shut me off.
Okay.
I guess I was never I was not one of the supporters of the strategic planning. I think the 100,000 is better spent going towards an intersection improvement or something that's going to help incentivize the developer to come into a corner than it is coming up with some plan that the developer is probably not going to look at anyway when they decide to come to this area. That's I think it's like we keep doing parks and trails plans, but we never really build anything. So we keep spending hundreds of thousands on the plans, but never do anything to actually improve the park. So I prefer to save the money for an improvement, a physical improvement. So
Go ahead. You guys need to
Are
weigh
your
in.
lights still on?
Oh, mine is? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the direction we gave you. I want a strategic economic plan. Just leave it at that.
And then I am for it as well, obviously, still with the same process as Herman's talking about. I don't want to spend $100,000 to get the plan. I don't think that that's going to be called for, and I know that that's not what we're talking about here. So, but I know that we need to accept this in order to get this started. I've been a big proponent of trying to get this done for the last 8 years. I see everybody around us developing and filling their coffers, and we're getting eaten up. And we need to start filling our own coffers. So we need to get this done.
Was on.
I'm on board with that also. I just have a question, and that is, if we accept the 25,000 and don't spend the 100, do we return all of the amounts we don't use up to the 25%?
It's not a return. It's more, I mean, I have no idea what the plan is going to cost. And that would be the maximum we could get is the 25,000, and it's a reimbursement thing. So if the plan costs 50,000, then the share would be 12.5.
Right.
So it's only reimbursed up to the matching on the grant. It's really just meant to be seed money, but I will caution you, it's not going to be free. I mean, these groups that do this, planning like everything else costs some money. I mean, but I'm more concerned that, it is, I saw in Loveland, they wouldn't fund a roof of one of their main buildings was leaking, and they didn't have the money. So they wanted to go out for an RFP process and use that to determine whether or not they were going to do it. And that's a little concerning. A board, you really have to decide if you want to do it, if you want to do whatever you want to pursue before we go out and get people to start bidding on it, because they assume that whatever when we do that the board is in favor of it. It's not a divided effort. So I just, I'm fine either way. I just want to make sure when we go out that the board understands that we'll bring back the proposal for you to decide if you want to do it or not.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we've had work sessions on this for a couple of months now, so the hesitation is a little bit concerning. So we've talked about this for quite some time. So anyway, thank you very much. Todd, thank you for putting the EIS together.
I
Trustee Cartwright,
just
go ahead.
wanted to comment that we asked Chris to come to us for this purpose, and we were all on board behind it and supporting what was being brought to us. He helped guide us into this plan, so that we had somewhere to go and we had somewhere to stand. And I know Herman was on the fence about it, but he didn't tell us what we're going to do. He set up the plan so we have somewhere to stand. And the only way we can move forward now is to step off of that platform and start moving forward. So I'm on board with going out and, I mean, at least get the RFP that, and if it comes back and it's going to be $200,000, I'd say no. If it's going to be 60,000, I would probably say yes. So we have to weigh the benefits coming back to us versus what we expend. And I think this is one of those times when the benefit is going to be beyond what we're just looking at right in front of our faces.
If I could, I would also just like to mention, in the intervening months as we had Chris LeMay come here, we also, as you will recall, traveled to Canyon City to petition the same organization for a grant for our police facility. And we came out with about twice what I thought we would get, because I thought we were going to get a third of what we asked for. And we ended up getting $600,000. So there is some degree of goodwill that we've established with our partners at DOLA. We seem to rise above the rest of the class when you look at when we compete. And I do think it's important to send a good message to our partners at DOLA. And it's fine, again, if we don't want to pursue something. But on the other hand, it builds our credibility as we get these and we use them. As you know, on that Prost plan, it's about an 80%, 80%, we only match 20%. And our land use code, we got about $300,000. So a lot of the plans, and I'm not saying it's all public money, but it's all advancing the board's goals, I hope. So just food for thought.
How does this plan actually get used by staff? Is it used by staff, or who takes the plan and does something with it?
Okay, like any planning document, like you say, we do a trails plan and we never use it. Well, we use it all the time. So when it guides development. So when a development comes into our planning and public works department, we pull out the comprehensive plan. We would pull out, if we had an economic development plan, there are some strategic properties that may get developed where we come in and say, there may be some room for participation here. On trails, we use it to determine the route. Generally, we know it needs to cross a property that gets identified in the plan. So the big use of these plans are guiding tools to develop the infrastructure in the town. Whether it's widening roads, building a bridge, paving a road that was previously a dirt road, all these things are identified in our plan, in our transportation plans, like what's the road supposed to look like? Same
So
thing.
if a developer comes in and says, I got this piece of land and we've identified it as certain big box, or we can say, no, we don't want you to do your development. We want you to do our big box idea.
No, because there's zoning that would allow it. But like when you talk about applying plans like the trails plan, we'll say, hey, this property has to accommodate this corridor. It goes right through this area. And then we work with them to do it. But the plans aren't meant to be, they're kind of like cookbooks. You use them to develop how you want your town to look. I mean, this board, many years before even though you all set a goal of developing a regional trail that runs from County Road 40 all the way down to the St. Vrain and basically runs by the high school. And then we as staff, when we know what the plan shows, we start looking for grants. Sometimes the town initiates it. Sometimes we get grants for our public partners. Sometimes we partner with developers, and sometimes the developer builds the whole thing. So it's the same thing. And the economic development would develop key strategies. It would look at, you guys have talked. I don't want a Walmart. I do want a Walmart. I want a In-N-Out burger. You might even get that specific, but you also might find out who exactly could you actually attract to the ball. That's the idea behind an economic strategic plan is what are you playing in, the minor leagues, the major leagues, a world league? Where would you best compete? And you have to do these fairly often because when I look back at what we did in 2015, 16, a lot of it's dated. So again, that's what we use plans for. We don't just put them on a shelf. We pull them off the shelf and look at them every time we get a development proposal or we get an opportunity that comes our way. That's how we use planning. Right, Todd? So, I get it. I'm a doer too. I'd like to just build stuff all the time, but it helps if I have something that guides. So.
Just like, do the developers ever come to you and say, hey, what is the plans for the trail system on this piece of property? Do they come to you and ask you, or do you go to them and say, now that you've come to this development, here's what we have planned?
They didn't come to me personally, but they definitely in our pre-app process, that's how you define things.
Okay.
Like for example, we have something in Mead that very few communities have, and is that we have a rail line that serves all rail lines. BSFN, UP, all of them. It's called OmniTracks. And that was the driving force for bringing Home Depot and the next that I can't name that's coming in that is talking to us. Well, they know there's a rail line there. That is a strategic advantage that only we have in like one other community that's over off of 85 because of that. That's a strategic advantage. Those are the kind of things that a plan would identify and elevate so that people knew. Almost probably 3 times a week, we get from our partners, regional partners, opportunities for developments. And sometimes they say access to a rail line. So it's just one of the things that we would look at in that plan. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right. So is there a motion for resolution number 38-R-2026?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 38R 2026, a resolution of the town of Mead, Colorado, accepting a grant from the Colorado Department of Local Affairs for the creation of the Economic Development Strategic Plan.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? And thank you for the discussion. Thanks, Helen. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Shranz,
Yeah.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion carries for resolution number 38-R-2026. Tonight's public hearing is on the Kitely Ranch annexation and zoning of the Ariet's Grove property. While the board is only required to conduct a public hearing regarding the rezoning establishment of initial zoning, the board will permit public comment on the agenda items 10I through, what's that, 4? During the noticed public hearing regarding the rezoning establishment of initial zoning for the subject property. Specifically, the board will accept public comments regarding the annexation of the subject property, the annexation agreement, the establishment of the initial town of Mead zoning for the subject property, and the proposed intergovernmental agreement with the Kitely Ranch Metropolitan District. Following the conclusion of the consolidated public comment period public hearing, the Board of Trustees will take action on items 10I through 10IV. I will open this public hearing, and the time now is 7:19, and I will turn the podium over to our planner, Alex Alley, for presenting our staff report. Sir, you have the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Whitlow, and good evening, trustees. We've kind of got a lot going on here, so I'm going to try to keep it as organized as possible. So the items that I'm presenting to you tonight are for the Ariette's Grove property, which is also formerly known as the Kitely Ranch property. You may notice that some of the items in the documents in your packet still refer to the previous name. This has just been done for consistency. You all conducted eligibility hearings for this property regarding annexation under the name of Kitely Ranch, so we felt it was best to keep that name consistent for those certain documents that you've already seen before. So the items that we're going to be going over tonight are for the annexation of the property, establishing an annexation agreement, a planned unit development overlay for the property, and a Metro District intergovernmental agreement. So to kick things off, the applicant for the project is Peak Development Group. The property owner is Anadarko EMP Onshore LLC, and the size of the property is approximately 134.46 acres. As you can see on this slide, the property is generally located south of Highway 66 and east of Weld County Road 7 or 3rd Street. The property is currently being used for oil and gas development, but is largely vacant. You can see that oil and gas development on that northern portion of the property there. The property is outlined by the town's comprehensive plan as being appropriate for both commercial mixed use and residential mixed use. Commercial mixed use is defined in the comprehensive plan as a mix of community serving commercial uses, moderate to high intensity retail, office, and higher density residential developments within walking distance of restaurants and entertainment establishments. Residential mixed use is defined as residential development with a wide range of density and scale, including large lot, single family attached and detached products, multifamily, and senior housing. The surrounding area includes undeveloped property within town boundaries to the north zoned for highway commercial use. The Mead Crossing commercial subdivision, which includes Quick Trip, Club Car Wash, and O'Reilly, zoned for highway commercial to the east. Foster Lake to the southeast. The first filing of the approved waterfront development zoned RSF4 for medium density residential use to the south. The existing Liberty Ranch subdivision, as well as the municipal facilities site to the west zoned for medium density residential RSF4, as well as some sections to the northwest there along Highway 66 zoned for general commercial use. Some of this information I kind of went over previously, but the property is currently located within unincorporated Weld County, and the application request is first for the property to be annexed into the town of Mead, then for an annexation agreement to be established between the town and the applicant, and then for the zoning of the property to be established as RMF 14, GC, RSF4, and Ag with a PUD overlay. And then finally, for the establishment of an intergovernmental agreement or IGA between the town and the existing Kitely Ranch Metro District. Starting with annexation, the owner submitted a petition for annexation of the property to the town on or about April 30th, 2025, which was then resubmitted to the town on or about July 23rd, 2025. You can find the petition for annexation as attachment A to the agenda item summary in your packets. The Board of Trustees approved resolution number 50-R-2025 on August 25th, 2025, which established that the petition is in substantial compliance with state law requirements. Then also scheduled the hearing to consider eligibility of the property for annexation, and referred the annexation to the Planning Commission. On September 17th, 2025, the Planning Commission approved resolution number 11-PC-2025, which is attachment B in your packets. When that resolution recommended approval of the annexation to the Board of Trustees. On October 13th, 2025, the Board of Trustees reviewed the eligibility of the property for annexation at a public hearing and set forth certain findings of facts and conclusions pertaining to the annexation of the property, and then found that the property was eligible for annexation into the town via resolution number 60-R-2025, which is attachment C in your packets. Because the Board of Trustees previously held an eligibility hearing and determined that the property is eligible for annexation, the responsibility of the board tonight is now to make a legislative determination as to whether to annex the property. Moving on to the annexation agreement and vested rights, staff provided a draft annexation agreement to the applicant in accordance with section 16-8-110 of the Mead Municipal Code. The applicant has requested the establishment of vested property rights for a proposed term of 25 years for both the annexation agreement and the PUD. A vesting period exceeding 3 years is allowed where warranted per section 16-5-100 of the code related to rights by agreement. In light of all relevant circumstances, including but not limited to the size and phasing of the development, economic cycles, and market conditions. Considering the size and phasing of the development, absorption of commercial mixed use and residential will span multiple economic cycles for home building and retail development, and market conditions are expected to vary over the next 25 years. In addition, the public infrastructure required for the development will be phased over the duration of the project and is significant in scale. So transitioning over to the PUD, this is just a general overview of the proposed planning areas and conceptual site layout. I'll go in depth on each planning area in the following slides, but this is the kind of overall. So planning area 1 is shown in brown and would allow for commercial uses and mixed residential housing types, including single-family detached, duplex, townhome, and multifamily. Planning area 2, shown in pink, would allow for commercial uses. Planning area 3 in brown would allow for mixed residential housing types, including single-family detached, duplex, townhome, and multifamily. Planning area 4 in yellow would allow for single-family detached housing types only. Planning area 5 in yellow is designated as a future neighborhood park of approximately 15.89 acres. And planning area 6 in green is designated as an oil and gas buffer from the existing oil and gas development on the site. Planning area 7 is the location of the existing oil and gas development on the site. And planning area 8 is the same color in green, but it's that thin strip that runs along Highway 66 that's designated as open space. And in total, the PUD would allow for a maximum dwelling count of 904 units. The PUD establishes design and dimensional standards for both residential and commercial land uses and establishes architectural and landscaping standards to create a cohesive look and feel to the area's growth subdivision, which is anticipated to function in tandem with existing and future neighborhoods in the area, creating a development pattern that closely resembles the anticipated development along Highway 66. In order to accomplish a mixture of densities, as is outlined in the comprehensive plan, the PUD provides for a variety of single-family and multifamily home types spread across the 8 planning areas. The proposed mixture of densities provides housing options that are in low supply or currently unavailable in Mead and provides commercial opportunities along Highway 66. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed PUD via resolution number 04-PC-2026, which is attachment D in your packets. And finally, the Metro District IGA. The property is currently served by the existing Kitely Ranch Metropolitan District. Because certain property within district boundaries are not included in the proposed annexation, the district is unable to petition the town for designation as an approving authority. The IGA leaves in place the amended and restated service plan for the district approved by Weld County on December 6th, 2023. The IGA incorporates certain town restrictions, including limitation on fees, and requires town approval prior to the county's approval of any service plan amendments. Pursuant to the IGA, the district is required to impose a mill levy of 3 mills and then remit same to the town for ongoing operations and maintenance expenses associated with public improvements within or without the boundaries of the district. The county has agreed to provide a letter acknowledging the terms of the IGA as required in the ordinances and resolution, and the county acknowledgement letter will be attached as an exhibit to the IGA prior to the recording of the IGA in Weld County's records. Now just to go over some review criteria, starting with the annexation. Annexations shall be accomplished in accordance with the Colorado Municipal Annexation Act of 1965. Staff has found that the annexation meets these requirements. And then in addition, the Board of Trustees also previously found that the property is eligible for annexation at the October 13th, 2025 meeting. As far as the annexation agreement goes, the town is authorized to enter into one or more agreements with property owners, memorializing understandings of the landowner and the town, and/or imposing terms, conditions, obligations, and rights upon annexation mutually acceptable to the parties. Just some notes: an annexation agreement is not required as a condition of all annexations, and nothing contained in the annexation agreement shall supersede any provision of any ordinance, resolution, rule, or regulation of the town unless the agreement explicitly identifies what is intended to be superseded. And then moving on to the PUD, a PUD overlay is a special purpose zoning district set forth in Mead Municipal Code Section 16-3-30A4 that allows for the modification of standards of the underlying zoning district in exchange for the provision of additional amenities and other elements that improve the overall development. PUD overlays may be used to modify the standards of underlying zoning districts if they are consistent with the comprehensive plan and the development is found to be an improvement over what would be required under otherwise applicable standards. The establishment of a zoning designation is subject to review against the following criteria set forth in Section 16-3-160E of the Mead Municipal Code. Please note that only one of the criteria on this slide must be met for the proposed PUD zoning, and staff finds that the PUD meets criterion number 6, shown in bold at the bottom of the slide. The proposed Ariet's Grove PUD is generally consistent with the commercial mixed use and residential mixed use land use designations identified in the 2018 comprehensive plan, and staff finds the concept proposed in the PUD to be an improvement over what would normally be required by the underlying zoning districts. The proposed PUD provides the following advantages over the underlying zoning and traditional development. The PUD provides consistency of design and compatible design for architecture development. Oops, I skipped a line there, sorry. For underlying zoning, and the PUD provides consistency of design and compatible design for architecture and landscaping across the property. The PUD provides for a flexible mix of medium density and multifamily housing types, which is compatible with the type of development pattern anticipated in the residential mixed use comprehensive plan designation. The PUD provides for general commercial uses, which are compatible with the commercial mixed use comprehensive plan designation. The PUD proposes multiple regional roadway and trail connections that will help establish an interconnected network of multimodal transportation within the property and to the surrounding areas and future developments. The PUD pays special attention to the existing surrounding properties, calling out a residential landscape buffer of a minimum of 20 feet with landscaping provided of 1 tree and 5 shrubs per 40 linear feet along the enclave properties. The PUD also proposes to meet or exceed the required 20% parks and open space dedication for PUDs and to construct a neighborhood park of approximately 15.89 acres. In addition to that, the development would add diversity to the town's housing stock and housing options, with options for a range of single-family detached, attached, and multifamily housing products that are currently in limited supply in Mead, and furthering the goals of the 2018 comprehensive plan related to growth and housing diversity. The Board of Trustees is asked to consider approval of the annexation agreement, PUD, and Metro District IGA via ordinances 1108, 1109, 1110, and resolution number 39-R-2026. The Board of Trustees has legislative discretion as to whether to approve the annexation. Staff recommends that the Board of Trustees first approve the annexation, second, approve the annexation agreement, third, establish the initial zoning of the parcel as residential mixed use or RMF 14, general commercial or GC, single family residential or RSF 4, and agricultural or AG with a PUD overlay, and finally approve the Metro District IGA sequentially via the suggested motions listed in your packets. I would now like to invite Elise Applegate-Klink with Norris Design up to give a presentation on behalf of the applicant team, and I'll be available for any questions after the conclusion of her presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Alex, for the introduction. And he did a really great job of explaining all that we're asking for. There's a lot going on with this project. So where I can, I will try to, just touch lightly on the details that he really got into and focus more on some of the colorful stuff that we're really proud to share with you. So my name is Elise Applegate-Klink. I'm a planner at Norris Design that's at 1101 Bannock Street in Denver. And I'm here presenting on behalf of Peak. Tonight, got ahead of myself there. Tonight, or let me go through actually. So Alex explained our context really well. Something that we're really excited about is that there is a lot of development within the surrounding area. So there's the Mead Crossings commercial subdivision to our east, Liberty Ranch and the Mead Municipal Center to our west, waterfront to the south, and then we know there's some pending development to the sort of northeast. So there's a lot going on in this area, and we're happy to help fill in along the Highway 66 corridor, which we know is really a priority for Mead. Our project team, I'm here tonight with Peak Development. We have 2 developers from Peak here and HKS Civil Engineering. They handled civil engineering, survey, and traffic engineering. So we've got all kinds of people to answer all of your questions tonight. We've also been working with Mead for a very long time on this, so we certainly consider them a partner in the project. It's been a collaborative process. So first off, we wanted to explain the inspiration behind the project and how we got here. I have one out of order, so I'm going to start with Mead's vision. At the very beginning of this process, the development team met with Mead leadership to understand the town's vision for the site. And from them, we heard that, Mead really wants a unique identity for this site, that there should be a mix of residential densities, not just one type of housing product, that the design standards really need to be water-wise to be conscious of that precious resource, and that the neighborhood would need to provide and maintain its own neighborhood park. So those are all things that we've really intentionally integrated into the plan. So looking to find that unique identity and inspiration, our branding team met with Polly Smith-Driver of the Mead Historical Society to learn more about the history of Mead and find some of that inspiration. In that meeting, we learned about Harriet Palmer Mead, for whom we've named the community. Harriet Palmer Mead led a life defined by education, community service, and quiet leadership. She was born in Missouri in 1867 and displayed extraordinary independence and initiative early on when she founded her own kindergarten at 15 years old. That passion for teaching led her to Colorado, where she taught at Highland Lake School, and it was here that she met Paul Mead, and the two were married in 1891. Together, the two of them raised 8 children while playing active civic roles in their community, and in the fall of 1905, Harriet and Paul helped plan the physical layout of the town of Mead, an act that placed her at the very foundation of this town's formation. And if you would notice the connection here, we're just off of Palmer Avenue, I believe, Avenue or Street, which I believe must be a connection to Harriet Palmer Mead. So with that, we wanted to honor her legacy as a teacher, a mother, a civic partner, and a founding planner. And we're proud to honor her in a new community called Harriet's Grove. So bringing back to tonight, we are here for an annexation, and then with that annexation, we need a zoning. So we're proposing an initial zoning to the PUD. After that, we can proceed with preliminary plat and site plan approvals, then final plat and construction documents, and then building permits, and then construction. So we're at a really important milestone and a very long road. For the annexation, Alex reviewed this really well, but we're at 134.5 acres. And you can see the town's boundary in sort of that lighter fill around the site. So surrounded by Mead on most sides except for Foster Reservoir there, and the 2 western residential enclaves. That's really key to the first item in the Colorado Revised Statutes that require that the site is has no less than 1/6 of its perimeter adjacent to the town that it's annexing into. And we are at about 70% there. So lots of adjacency to incorporated town of Mead. The other key requirement is that the area is urban or will be urbanized in the future. And as we touched on earlier, there's a lot of development going on around the site, including established subdivisions to our west and east. The zoning map, we've just seen this, but because this site is not yet in the city, it doesn't have any zoning. Alex touched on our surrounding zoning, and it really reflects the comprehensive plan, which we'll touch on in a moment, with commercial sort of closer to Highway 66 and residential single family further south and to our west. So looking at the comprehensive plan, as he detailed, we've got commercial mixed use along the whole northern portion of the site and residential mixed use for about the southern 2/3 or 3/4 of the site. Our land use plan, Alex walked us through pretty nicely, but you can see the delineation between commercial mixed use in the north and residential mixed use in the south. We're planning 8 different planning areas, all of which serve a little bit different purpose. Each planning area has its underlying zoning that will be referred to for any design matters that the PUD does not address. And then one more item that I wanted to note, you can see the white boundary at the top of our site. There's actually a gap between our site and Highway 66. So we don't have direct access onto that highway. And it's just something to be noted as we talk through the land use plan. So starting in the northern portion of the site, Planning Area 7 will continue to operate as a drilling site as this moves forward, and that ownership will be maintained by the current oil and gas operator. They very specifically requested a large buffer of 300 feet around Planning Area 7, just to create sort of an extra sense of security. So that's not required, but it is something that the oil and gas operator has requested and that we're respecting and glad to provide. That open space buffer is not going to be open space in the sense that there will be trails or recreational uses. It will be fenced off, but filled in with native grasses and that kind of thing. And then along that northern boundary, this is a piece of the site that is really encumbered by easements and that sort of 300-foot buffer. So that's also considered an open space planning area. Within the commercial mixed use area, we've got planning areas 1 and 2, which follow the commercial mixed use recommendations for retail services, restaurants, offices, and higher density residential, with planning area 1 allowing for any commercial use and higher density residential, and planning area 2 just focused on commercial uses because of its adjacency to the Mead Crossings commercial area. Further south in the site, we've got the residential mixed use. Residential mixed use sort of lends itself to RSF 4, RMF 8, and RMF 14 zoning. The 4, 8, and 14 refer to the dwelling units per acre. And so those give you large lot single family detached, duplexes, townhomes, and multifamily. Planning area 3, which is sort of the center of the site, has all of those as options. So single family detached, attached duplexes, attached townhomes, and multifamily. Then planning area 4 at the south end is all single family detached. That's really intentional to provide a gradient of density from the south up to the north and match our neighbors in waterfront. And then planning area 5 is a neighborhood park immediately adjacent to Foster Reservoir. We're really looking forward to taking advantage of some great views in there and the already vegetated area there. So a key part of the PUD is that we are exceeding code. And so the PUD is required to provide design standards that require specific articulation elements. That includes offsets, window minimum areas, and porch sizes to create attractive massing and building form. There are mandates for minimum facade features, such as awnings, use of shutters, use of accent materials. There is a limitation on garage dominant home designs by limiting the garage widths in proportion to the total home width and how far the garage can extend from the front wall or front porch. There are material and color parameters requiring a minimum of 2 exterior building materials, such as siding with brick or stone, and a requirement that house materials don't abruptly change at the corner of a house, that they carry through in a logical manner. And there's also a requirement that we provide a minimum of 4 housing types in the community. So that's front or alley loaded, detached and attached homes, duplexes, auto court configurations, townhomes, multifamily, all of these options to ensure that the community can accommodate a variety of households. On the topic of landscape standards, we really were intentional about exceeding the code in a couple of ways. There are quantifiable standards. So staff wants to make sure that when they look at a plan, they have numbers to back into. So we have requirements for 1 canopy tree every 40 feet along roads, for minimum shrub planting requirements in areas where utilities prevent any trees from being planted, minimum tree requirements in the parks. We specifically created a recommended list of plants that include low water use trees, shrubs, and grasses to make sure that we're conserving water. And it specifically limits the amount of permanently irrigated sod in the park area, and provides guidance for establishing native grass areas so that after a couple of years of initial irrigation of those native grass areas, they're fully sufficient on their own and don't need long-term permanent irrigation. And as Alex mentioned, the PUD also has special standards to provide privacy buffers along the residential enclaves on our western boundary. So there's standards for planting in there to make sure that when we come in and build lots that are within a proximity of those homes, they still maintain their privacy. We understand there's a lot changing for them, so we're trying to create that respect. Moving on to the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Plan. We heard a lot about that earlier. And so something that we were told very early on is that it was really important to create an east to west trail connection within the site. So we're picking that up sort of from the northwestern portion of the site. You can see the yellow trail outlined next to the future underpass. From there, pedestrians or cyclists will be able to use a pedestrian signal to access that northern portion of the site. And then all of that bold line is 8-foot trail network. So the idea is that it'll bring you all the way up to the trail connection at Mead Crossings, right where it crosses over Highland Ditch. We also have a connection down south into the neighborhood park that will connect to the waterfront trail off to the south. Within the site, you can see that we sort of have these boxes around those residential enclaves so that, when we have developed the sidewalk, but there's no sidewalk in front of those homes, there's a really safe way for people to move through the site and continue south or north on their way. And then we've also outlined a really sort of high-level concept of the grid network that we'll be providing to make connections with those thinner lines from north to south and east to west within the site. On the topic of the Weld County Road improvements, we are providing an extra 30 feet of right-of-way dedication. This allows for build out of the planned 16-foot wide median, a northbound vehicle lane, and a 6-foot bike lane. And then there's 11 feet just past that curb that is set aside for future widening that'll be planted just with native grasses in the interim until the road reaches the threshold to be expanded. And that's something that'll be checked on as any development happens in this County Road 7 corridor over the years. Back of that corridor, there will be trees on both sides of the 8-foot sidewalk. That's really intentional to kind of create that grove concept of Ariad's Grove and provide a lot of privacy for the residents who will have homes backing to County Road 7. In between their fence line and County Road 7, there will be a 15-foot easement for utilities. That precludes any sort of tree plantings, so that'll be planted with grasses and shrubs. In the areas where we do not have direct adjacency to County Road 7, there's still going to be improvements made. There's still the landscape median, the northbound travel lane, and the northbound bike lane. It's just everything that happens in that additional 30 feet that won't be happening in those areas. This has been a long process with a lot of really important community conversations. So our development team has met with neighbors to discuss plans, coordinate design, and ensure that the PUD provides thoughtful guidance for the design of this neighborhood. That includes conversations with the commercial and oil and gas site owner to the east, the town of Mead with regard to the municipal center and making sure that we're aligning everything properly, conversations with the owners of the residential enclaves along County Road 7, and the developers of Waterfront and Mead Crossing. We've also coordinated extensively with easement holders and neighbors to the site, Highland Ditch Company and Western Midstream. And of course, we've worked very closely with the current landowner, Anadarko, who will maintain ownership of Planning Area 7. So to wrap this up, we took a look at what the Mead Land Use Code requires for PUDs. So the first item is that you need to describe how the PUD departs from code and improves upon it. And we do this with the allowance of home types that are not currently contemplated by code. There's some sort of smaller lot options and a little bit more creative or unusual housing options that we've worked with staff to confirm are desired. There's a really deliberate transition of density with lower density in the south and higher in the north. We established these design standards that we reviewed for architecture and landscape and established a planning area for a large neighborhood park, guaranteeing that that space will be a neighborhood park. The next item is that it has to be reviewed per code, which we have done many times with continuous coordination with staff. The PUD has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, and we really deliberately aligned our land uses with the comprehensive plan and their underlying zoning with the comprehensive plan designations as well. There's a requirement that PUDs ensure that the potential population doesn't exceed the capacity of public facilities. This is a really important one when you're thinking long-term. And as a part of that, we have provided a traffic study to ensure that we understand the traffic impacts. There's an annexation impact report that touches on how the site will be served. And then we've also provided utility will serve letters. We've also been in conversation with groups like St. Vrain School District to make sure that we're really thinking ahead on all of these items. And finally, we have to sort of prove that we're providing an improvement over what would be provided in code. So we'll remind you that we not only enable but require a variety of housing types. We established that large neighborhood park that was requested or talked about very early on. And we establish strong design standards that are all quantifiable and exceed code for architecture and landscape. And with that, we'd love to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much for your time. And now this is the opportunity for the public to comment for this public hearing, and you are recognized. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes to address the board, and we ask that you please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Are there any comments from the public on this in this public hearing? Okay, hearing none. Trustees, do we have comments or questions for staff or the applicant? Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Can I ask, I can't remember, when was the Metro District formed?
On?
Yeah, he doesn't.
The amended and restated service plan was approved by the county in, I believe, calendar year 2023. The district is older than that. But again, I can defer to the applicant team, but it will stay technically in the county because not 100% of the property that's within the district boundaries is being annexed into the town.
So they don't necessarily have to meet our Metro District code?
Well, they
In the county?
they are meeting our code, but they're doing so pursuant to the intergovernmental agreement, which is on the agenda this evening.
Okay. And even though it was established a while ago, I don't know how long, it doesn't meet our current Metro District code, our model service plan. That's the word.
With some deviations, but it largely meets the current requirements.
Okay.
As you know, from a policy perspective, the board recently voted on increasing the town's O&M mill levy from 3 mills to 5 mills. This IGA is keeping that at 3 mills because we started this negotiation process well before that was brought to the board for discussion, and it was intended that change would be prospective.
Yes. But otherwise it substantially complies with our model plan.
Yes.
Okay. And then my only other question for you, since there is no access off of I-25, off of Highway 66, access to that oil and gas site then would have to come through the neighborhood. Is that to me seems like a bit of a concern if you're actively using that site to have big trucks and stuff going through the neighborhood.
The presentation back up. All right, I'll have to jump around a minute to get to a good slide that can show you.
And is that well, while she's looking, that very top little line that she said is staying 300 feet of easement, is that being counted as part of the open space percentage or not? Because it's not really usable park open space if it's right next to 66. So is that being counted as a percentage of the open space and parks that they're required?
My understanding is that it's not, and that they're well over their open space requirement without that strip.
Okay. All right. Just want to check on that. Thanks.
That was mine as well, but thank you. I appreciate having staff back up there. So the current access, and you can sort of see it in the underlying aerial under that green space, is from a point just south of the pedestrian crossing on County Road 7. And then it moves straight east into the site. It's our understanding that that is going to be maintained as the primary access just because it's the shortest route into the site. That will be built out to standard local right-of-way design. And we're being really intentional with placing, or when we actually get to this phase of detailed design, we'll be placing the trails in a manner that absolutely minimizes crossings of streets to the greatest extent possible. But that connection is still coming in off of County Road 7 and then moving east.
will driveways actually,
No driveways.
no
fronting onto the
driveways
same.
will be on that? Okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you.
Mhm.
I think
Okay. Trustee Hagan?
Just
Trustee
a
France?
two quick questions. Who owns the strip of land along 66, or is that future right-of-way dedication, or why is that held out?
That one,
It's just not part of this property.
question.
It seems like a weird shape of land.
It's kind of a spite strip. It's owned by someone else that restricts access to that property.
That's right.
It's the private owner.
It actually is a private property owner.
Mhm.
It's Equinox MPO District Land Holdings, LLC.
It's
There
the
you go.
people
Same
wanting
sharp
me
with
to
the
play.
applicant, by the way. But it's basically where the ditch is as well. So it's not just the,
Oh,
it's
okay.
also the ditch itself is the impediment between our property and 60.
Got it. And is this project gonna initiate the left turn lane northbound onto 66 from 7, or is that part of future?
I think that's Waterfront's responsibility, but I don't know. Erica, do you know? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll discuss that, I think, with preliminary plat.
Okay.
Trustee France?
I just want to follow on to Trustee Harris's questions about access onto the property. The way I see this is all the access and exit is going to be onto Colorado 7. Is that correct?
we do have two access or, egress points as well onto Colorado 7. There's also a road connection south into Waterfront. Their plans stub for a local road there. And then we have a connection east on Highland Drive, I believe, into Mead Crossings as well.
Way up northeast.
So there's some white arrows on the screen there.
And there's a light there, so they might go there.
Yeah. But okay. Well, it's just a question. It just seems like an awful lot of traffic on 7 making rights and lefts to get in and out of the property.
We have gone through a full analysis of trip distribution through our traffic impact study, looking at the traffic that this site will generate, the existing background traffic, how that traffic increases between now and 2050. That was our full analysis horizon. And we have our traffic engineer, if you have any specific questions for him about sort of projected traffic coming from this site.
Well, I'm just look at it from amount of traffic, certain times of day.
Mhm.
Colorado 7 is a main thoroughfare for the high school. So from 2:30 to 3:30, there's a constant flow of cars coming up. So I'm looking at people trying to access into, if you're coming south on 7, you're going to turn left onto that.
Mhm.
And if you're trying to come out, you're going to turn right or left. You can either go either way. So there's a congestion point.
Understood. I would have to defer to some of my teammates on the northern location. I can tell you there are plans for that southern access into the site on County Road 7 to have a queuing lane for the left turn to allow people to make that left turn without blocking the traffic behind them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with the two residential enclaves of this site, we are exactly blocked off from any direct alignment to streets in Liberty Ranch. So we do sort of have this every other pattern going across the street. But the street locations were really intentionally placed to make sure that we're still meeting all of the minimum spacing requirements. But we certainly can touch on any more specific traffic questions if you have them
I
too.
think you understand my point.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a congestion point. Colorado 7
Yes.
is a 2-lane road.
It is, but we have allocated space to expand it when that threshold
But
is.
you're going to put a medium in with trees and stuff.
Yes, so there's a median.
Right.
Let me pop over there, actually. So there's the median that's proposed. That median will be cut out at those areas to create the left turn. And then on our site in that 30 feet of dedication, there's 11 feet for a future widening as well. So this will be increased to 2 lanes in the future when it hits that threshold.
What's the distance from 66 to the first northern turning?
Oh, I would have to, do you know that one? I'll see if I've got it in my notes as well.
I mean, I can picture it in my head based on where the houses are.
You could definitely get
About right about across from the fire station's entrance.
It's the lower, it's
Right
even
across
closer
the
to the light.
street.
that-
It can't line up there because there's a residence there in that property, but it's similar. It's got to be at least 660 feet. So
HKS team, if we can confirm if that's a right in, right out, or a 3/4 at the northern point too. I think that'll be important to touch on. It is, okay, so it is full movement.
To the first access.
Right, and I believe the town's requirement is 600 feet, the engineering requirement,
660.
660. Okay, and we're at 700.
Thank you.
It's a tough site.
Any other questions?
Me.
Trustee Cartwright.
From the PUD, you're talking about multi-family homes, and then larger scale, so 14 per acre. Is it safe to assume those would be apartment homes?
At 14 dwelling units per acre, that's pretty consistently apartments. Attached homes are usually running around 11 to 12 dwelling units per acre. And yes, that is focused sort of in that northern half of the site.
And is there plans for parking?
Yes. So we do have parking requirements in the PUD. I'll have to refresh my memory really quickly. Here we go. For multifamily, there's a requirement of 1 space per bedroom, and that adds up to a maximum of 3 spaces per unit, regardless of bedroom, if there was for some reason a 4-bedroom unit. And then 1 guest space per 3 dwelling units as well.
I saw that in there, but I wanted to be sure.
Absolutely. We're glad to answer.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you, staff, for putting this presentation together and for our applicant for their presentation. We will now ask for a motion to approve ordinance number 1108 regarding the Kitely Ranch annexation.
I will move to approve ordinance number 1108, an ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, annexing certain territory known as Kitely Ranch to the town of Mead, Colorado.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Trustee Strands,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries on ordinance number 1108. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 1109 regarding the Kitely Ranch annexation agreement?
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1109, an ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, approving the annexation agreement and development agreement with Anadarko E&P Onshore LLC for the Kitely Ranch annexation and associated vested property rights.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Strands,
Yes.
trustee Hagan,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries for ordinance number 1109. Is there a motion to approve an ordinance number 1110 regarding Ariets Grove zoning?
I'll move to accept ordinance number 1110, ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, approving with conditions a zoning designation of multifamily residential, RMF 14, general commercial, GC, single-family residential, RSF 4, and agricultural, AG, with planned unit development PUD overlay for the property known as Ariets Grove and approving associated vested property rights.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
trustee Strands,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries for ordinance number 1110. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 39-R-26 regarding the IGA with Kitely Metropolitan District?
I move to approve Resolution 39R 2026, a resolution of the town of Mead, Colorado, approving the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Mead and Kitely Ranch Metropolitan District.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Shrands,
Yes.
trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries for resolution number 39-R-2026. I will now close this public hearing at 8:09. I wish to say thank you very much for choosing Mead and welcome on behalf of the Board of Trustees. Thank you. We have no further general business, so this brings us to our second regular public comment period, which would be for any item, whether it is on the agenda or not. We will follow the same guidelines previously stated. I will call on individuals in the order which they have signed in. Again, I ask all speakers and audience members to treat one another with respect and dignity. Melissa, is there anyone signed up for this public comment?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone here in the room who would like to speak to the Board of Trustees on anything on the agenda or not? All right. Thank you very much. I will turn it over to elected officials for any reporting that they need to bring to the board. Trustees? Trustee Shranz and then Trustee Hagan.
You want to go first?
Sure, I think mine's short. The guy that spoke to us about his sewer bill, I didn't realize that he was just losing water into the ground. It's not actually going into our sewer. So if he can come up with a reliable way to meter it, that's accessible to, I guess, Public Works would have to be able to confirm that the water he's metering into the fountain is metered separate from the total house usage to come up with a reasonable bill. But it does put a burden on staff to try to come up with the difference there. I don't know if that's a big deal for you guys or not, but there's no reason they should have to pay for sewer on it if it's actually getting soaked into the ground.
Well, I'd like to have a little more discussion on this. It's the methodology problem. So we use the 3 months, what is it, November, December, January, Erica? So we use these 3 months to determine what the sewer bill is. The problem is a lot of people basically target those months to minimize their use like they said they're going to do. If we take one-offs, we'd have to take one off of anybody who uses a lot of water in the winter. Like, for example, this winter, a lot of people watered quite a bit because we didn't have any rain. So we really have to alter our methodology because we don't meter the effluent. It's just this correlation of the 3 months of water use. And I understand that, what he's saying, but we've heard similar things just in general of people using high water use in the winter and wanting a deviation from it. So you really have to look at the methodology and change your methodology if you're going to allow for it. It's the most conservative way to do it. Those are considered the lowest use months. So.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be all indoor, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
I know why it's done that way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because it's not like everybody irrigates in the middle of the winter. I'm surprised he actually puts water in it in the winter.
Well, that's what I don't understand. It evaporates, exactly.
Well, in the winter, evaporation's near nothing in the winter.
But you said it's enough that he has to keep filling
It's soaking in.
Yeah.
It's leaking out. That's what he said.
Lighter or what he had.
Regardless, I guess he'd have to have the burden of proof. I don't know if staff wants to consider it, but seems reasonable.
Would it involve having a second meter?
Well,
you could put a meter on the part that goes to his fountain.
Yeah, but I mean, what you're really doing is segmenting. You're trying to create these one-offs, and you really have to decide if you want to change your methodology. Somehow figuring out how you can meter sewer use. What it'll ultimately do, I can tell you, is raise your sewer rates. Because as you remember, an enterprise is a fishbowl and it has to cover its own nut. So the way you do it is based on those 3 most conservative months. So if you start allowing it because somebody proves that they're not dumping it into the sewer, anybody can do that.
But it affects everyone once you start doing that. It affects the people in all homes.
Yeah.
in the enterprise fund, not just one, not five, all of them.
Yeah, because you're basically having to take it from somebody else who's paying it.
Mhm.
But the price is based on how much capacity you're taking up in the pipe to deliver it to the wastewater treatment plant, and then also the capacity in the plant. I mean, that's what the process, the volume. So if it's not going there, realistically, it's not really fair that he's paying for it. But I understand the administrative side is more difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
But you don't have to change your methodology carte blanche just for one guy. You could just say, okay, if you got a specific reading system and we can observe it, then that's fair.
Keep their horses.
yeah.
Or the people that have sprinklers that decide they want to run them on their 40 acres. And they run it because they can.
I don't,
Now we're.
not in the winter. It's not growing in the winter. Sorry.
Well, I fill a 50-gallon water tank for my, or no, 100-gallon water tank for my horses every 3 days, and that's winter or summer.
Same here.
It's not going to the sewer. Granted, I'm not in sewer anyways, but
There you go.
I mean, so you're opening a can of worms. I get what that guy is saying, but you're opening a can of worms.
Plus, he knew this. He should have known when he bought the home.
I mean, it's been
6 years. 6 years. So it's been 6 years since he's known about it. So he hopefully would have, and not just picking on him, buyer, should know, do their due diligence before they buy a home on what utilities that the prior.
I don't see how it went up from $40 to $240. If it
I
went,
started leaking.
Yeah, that's the point. And I
Yeah.
think
That's the
Brad-
whole point I'm making is
Yeah, Brad's making the point.
he's
I mean,
paying
that-
enough on the water side, and then we're charging him on the sewer side too because he's got a leak.
yeah, but we don't get anything on the water side, Brad. So,
I know.
I mean, he's paying Little Thompson 16% more than he did last year. I mean, it's a board decision, but it really is opening up a can of worms because there are all kinds of one-offs of people that we get probably, I don't know, a dozen people who complain about it, who feel it isn't fair because they're real conservative. But I mean, like I said, it's a board decision, but anybody, you could listen to anybody coming in here and complaining about why they don't use the sewer.
I do listen to him.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for your comment. Okay.
Yeah.
Trustee France.
In the middle of May, the board approved me attending a ICSC convention in Las Vegas, and I would like to report back on some of the things that happened there. First of all, I will tell you it was an extremely intense 2 days. There were over 25,000 people in attendance, over 890 booths in the convention center, and very regimented. If you wanted to talk to somebody, you almost had to have an appointment, and you could only talk for 10 minutes because there was a line of people behind you. Now, I've been to a lot of conferences, and most conference booths are usually in 8 by 10 or 12 by 12 or something like this. These people had booths that had over 60 round tables in them, 4 seats per table, and every table full of people talking for 10 minutes at a time. That's the intensity. And these were potential clients. So what happened there was that you were dealing with developers, retail people, and real estate, commercial real estate folks. So you had the whole gamut there. There was also one large organization, and this is key. It's Property Tech had a big piece because they are introducing a tremendous amount of technology into retail development and commercial real estate. Post-COVID, commercial real estate took a hit because people all learned that they can do a lot of things from home. Brick and mortar suffered, a lot of things happened. So the whole industry did a pretty significant rebranding. And they are now in a position where they are extremely active. They are doing a tremendous amount of building and developing and retail. So the message there is that the season is ripe for that. They are looking, they're hunting, lots and lots of people. I had an opportunity to learn a tremendous amount about the whole retail development process, commercial real estate, all that stuff. It's amazing how much somebody can cram into their head in 2 days, but it was pretty intense. Got a chance to talk to a lot of people. I will tell you, I did focus, since there were so many vendors there, I did focus on large box kinds of discussions. I stayed away from the smaller things, except I did talk to Dollar General, but I tried to focus because I was very limited in time. You only had that small window, so you had to pick and choose your battles. And I had an opportunity to talk to a lot of people. I also talked to a few consultants, people who help towns like us, kind of relaying back to the subject matter that we had earlier, that this is the kind of work that they do. And so, of course, they're in sell mode, so they pitched everything at me. But I told them, look, you only got 10 minutes too, so I'm moving on. I can't sit here and listen to your whole pitch. But I did get a lot of information. Probably the biggest piece of information that I learned is that we at the town of Mead are not ready for economic development. We are very, very far behind the curve. It's going to take an awful lot for us to catch up. There are 5 major components that every retailer I talked to threw at me. They were very polite and they talk nicely, but there's 5 major components. Component 1 is zoning. They want to ensure that all the zoning is proper before they even come look at you. The other one is permitting. They want to make sure that communities have the ability to expedite permitting. They get really tied up in some of these larger cities with the bureaucracy and stuff, and they can't get all their permitting pushed through, and they lose time, and time is money to them. I think those 2 things the town of Mead can deal with. I think we have some of that. The other 3 pieces that are troubling is, 1, they want to see a master strategy plan for the town. And not only what you plan, but how you plan to get it done. How you're going to execute this plan that you have. 2, they want to see an incentive plan, which we do not have. Okay. And we haven't even really kind of begun to talk about what an incentive plan is going to be. And that's going to be a challenge. I mean, look how much trouble we had just to get it to where we're at today, trying to get people to meet and talk about stuff like that. So the incentive plan is going to be a challenge. And the other thing that I think was very key was that they look and seriously look at boards and councils and those kinds, and look for consistency, cohesiveness in the board. Does your board all agree and you're moving down the same? The last thing they want to deal with is a fractured board, because it's a waste of their time, right? If you can't get, in this case, 7 people to agree and move down the same path, they won't even talk to us. So having looked at that, I kind of assessed that and said, well, we're missing 3 of the 5 major components. And the 3 major components that we're missing are going to be components that are going to take a significant amount of time to achieve and get. Okay. I am personally concerned that we're not going to be able to get the consistency and cohesiveness in this board to all agree to go into the same direction in a reasonable amount of time. We have lots of stuff happening here. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned that from a staff standpoint, we're not ready there. We don't have economic development people. We don't have those skills in place, and I don't see any plans to get those skills in place yet. So there's that. I don't know how much support is coming out of our staff people in regards to retail. I get a lot of feedback that says municipalities and government move slow. And I think probably all of you would agree you've heard that at one time. But I look at these 7 people, and we are the government. We set the pace on how fast things are going to go and go through. So it's a cop-out for me that it's easy to blame, well, government moves slow. It doesn't. We allow it to move slow. We're the ones who can push it and move it faster. But you have to be cohesive, and you have to be driving towards the same goals. And then you can move this stuff forward. I just don't see us there yet. I see that we focus a lot of our energy on saving money, and that's not a bad thing. but we don't focus enough on making money. And I think that's where we really need to start looking at what we need to do. We need to be somewhat aggressive in what we do. Our neighboring communities are that. That's how Firestone can get Target, how Frederick can lock in Lowe's, how Dacono can get Sprouts. Okay, they are moving forward. I did talk to a lot of people in public sector. I had one meeting that there was thousands of public sector people in this huge room. And I talked to a lot of them to try to find out, how do other communities do this? Right? I mean, we can't be unique here. And they threw stuff at me that says, well, we do a lot of retreats. We do that. We do retreats too, except ours are like 2.5, 3 hours every quarter. And we don't necessarily come out of a retreat with anything concrete. These other organizations are 2 or 3 day off-campus retreats. They go in with a particular agenda and they come out with action plans. These are communities and they range anywhere from 5,000 to 70,000, the range that I talked to. The big one is 70,000, which is Pflugerville, Texas. Their economic development people, even though they report into staff, they consider themselves a separate company. So they are EDC, the Economic Development Company. They belong to the town, but they are separate from staff, and all their focus is on that. I don't know that we would ever be able to do any of that kind of stuff, but it's just an interesting approach on how they get economic development in. It's heavy marketing. They push hard to get retailers in there. It's a competitive business. Retailers love it. They want to see different communities pushing forward and trying to get stuff in. I just don't see us in the town of Mead prepared to do that yet. We're just too far behind. We can't get consensus on things that we need to get done. Like I say, we focus on a lot of things. And I'm not saying we don't do good things, but we need to do better things. I think we need to push harder. But first of all, we need to be concise. We need to all agree. And I look at that and say, that's a big challenge for this board because we have not been successful at doing it in the past. And I don't know how successful we'll be in the future. But I can tell you that from what I've talked to and people that I've talked to and things that I have seen and heard, unless we get there, we're just going to be bringing up the rear. They talk about things like retail trade agreement or population. With the help of Lorelei, I had asked her and she did a great job. She built me a graphic that showed 10-mile radius with Mead in the center. I went in because I didn't have a whole lot of time to do a lot of research, but I just looked, Johnstown, Milliken, Firestone. I guessed and said, we probably have 70, 80,000 people inside that 10-mile radius. I was very, very wrong. And these people know because they have the technology with AI now. They know more about the town of Mead than anybody ever thought they knew. In this 10-mile radius, there's over 300,000 people that they see. Okay? So we can be the middle of that and have people come to us, or somebody else is going to get it and we have to go to them. And that's where we're at right now. Right now, I have to go to Firestone to buy my milk and give them my tax dollars, so on and so forth. So if Mead wants to be a central piece of the retail business, which I think we need, because we have to find ways to pay for all the things that we need to do. We have tried numerous times with initiatives to try to pass sales tax. Hell, we can't even pass a damn lodging tax, and it doesn't cost anybody anything, right? We're doing something not right. We should be able to get through this. Listen to the people, listen to what the community says. They expect that we find ways to pay for the things that we need to pay through retail. And they are absolutely right. That's the way it's supposed to be, not in their pocket, right? So we need to really, really be much more aggressive at getting retail in here because that's the only way we're going to survive. You can only pull so much. And like I said, the community has told you they're not giving us any more money. And frankly, I don't blame them. I'm in the same kind of boat that says, why am I going to give you another dollar? What are you going to do with it? Right? Go get it from where you should be getting it from. And I would love to have this board push that, drive together, make that happen. We need to have that plan in place. We need to present that to the community. We need to let the community know that we in fact do have a plan, and here it is. What's your input? This is where we're going to go. We're going to give it to you every quarter, keep it in front of them, and keep moving forward. Until we can get to that, I'm afraid we're not going to be able to move the dial very much farther ahead. So with that, I want to first thank the board for giving me the opportunity to go there. It was classic. I'd love to be more involved with it, but I think I'm done. Okay, you're probably all glad to hear that Herman's not going to beat you up about strategic plans anymore. You've got my message. Now it's up to what is it you want to do with it, and I hope that we move forward and get it. The town needs it really bad, and I want to be there. So with that, thank you for your time. I am tired. I'm going to go home now.
No, not yet.
It's not.
I just want to say thank you for going and taking your personal time to go down there and fly these great skies to Vegas and, walk forever and to represent us down there. So thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank you for your report back. And thank you for your passion.
Well,
Thank you.
I want some of that to rub off.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want other people to have that.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
I got some of that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring up that Fishing is Fun event was well attended, was a great job by staff putting it on, and they all left. So wherever Lorelei is and her team and Public Works, Erica's still here. So thank you very much for all of your work putting it together. I know it's evolved from one place to another. I did receive lots of kudos afterwards and through the weekend. So thank you very much for doing that. I think it's pretty special for the little kids to catch a fish. And that one gentleman, he's probably 8 or 9, caught a catfish like this big. And it was great. And they were the surprised on the face of him and others when he was walking through the whole park with his catfish. So, and with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please, Melissa.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz,
Yes.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes, the June 8th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is now adjourned at 8:32. Thanks. Drive home carefully.
Todd.
Thank you for giving me the extra page.